we're all relieved the weather will be bearable this week after the recent heat wave. Despite the challenge, teachers and staff have kept the momentum going, bringing fans, offering cold water, and even my statistics teacher, Miss Henriksen, passing out popsicles during lunch. Cool spaces like libraries and cafes were also set up for students to focus on their studies. These small acts of kindness have boosted morale across our schools. Moving on, our high schools have been very busy this past few weeks, from Spirit Weeks to clubs, college events, and of course, sports. North High launched its first Spirit Week, Sammy Saxon's playlist, with each day themed around popular songs. The quad was alive with the games and musical chairs and finished lyric challenges involving some of North's new teachers. Torrance High also kept the energy up with themed days like You Matter Tuesday, Wellness Wednesday, and Fun Friday, all enhancing the positive atmosphere at school. Additionally, South High teachers recently celebrated their senior sunrise, creating lasting memories together before their final year kicks into full swing. West and South held club brushes events featuring a wide range of academic, service, cultural, and special interest clubs. South Science Club had a hands-on slime station, while West Warrior Focus Club, which mentors freshmen, hosted its first workshop. South's new club, Greenhouse, is most definitely a force to be reckoned with, already having over 100 official members who are ready for the coming games and spirit sections for the fall, winter, and spring seasons. On the athletic front, this past Friday the 13th, North High's home game against West was a big hit, complete with a blackout-themed killer tailgate. Students played games, ate cotton candy, and enjoyed the free face painting station before the game. North won 40-30, but West also celebrated a big victory over Santa Monica, with a fun tailgate hosted by their Warrior Focus Club, providing freshmen with a welcoming atmosphere for their first tailgate. Torrance High remains undefeated in football, while South High, a USA-themed student section, reportedly broke the sound barrier. Their marching band, color guard, cheer, and drill all received standing ovations respective to each performance. This game marked the first annual halftime watermelon eating contest, and I'm excited to see this tradition continue. South High's cross-country team sent over 50 runners to Rosemead Invitational, where many achieved personal bests. West High cross-country team traveled to Hawaii for the Iolani Invitational, with the girls team finishing 6th and the boys team finishing 3rd. Our students' dedication on and off the field continues to impress, and we're equally proud of their academic achievements. Congratulations to West High senior, I'm sorry for mispronouncing this, King Hong Jia, a semifinalist in the National Merit Scholarship Program, who is among approximately 16,000 students across the nation competing for $26 million in scholarships. North High's JOTC also appointed new leadership, with Clarissa Adame promoted to battalion commander during their opening ceremony. Additionally, North High's Hispanic Culture Club, provided transportation to the Latino X College Expo, where over 10 students received on-the-spot admissions to Laverne University. At South High, university ambassadors from USC, CSUN, Colorado Boulder, and UC Merced visited eager students, and a UCI admissions counselor spoke to a full room at North High. South also has started Monday College pre-application workshops, while North has partnered with Varsity Tutors to offer all Saxons free tutoring, essay reviews, test prep, and more. We should also celebrate North Saxon Regiment, which is performing the national anthem at the Angels game tonight, and Torrance High's Theater, which is holding auditions for its upcoming play, Geek. Lastly, in honor of Hispanic Heritage Month, North Hispanic Culture Club has started bi-weekly announcements celebrating significant figures in Latinx American history, with more exciting events like Loteria card painting on the way. Thank you so much for your attention and care for the students in this district.
Thank you. Thank you. It's so cool because I had Miss Hendrickson outside North. So cool to hear. Do we have any questions or comments from the board? All right, now we're going to move on. Thank you so much for your report. Next, we have our report from the Torrance Council of PTAs. Hello.
I came with notes. Long notes, just kidding. Oh, I'm already breaking things too. Okay, I'm gonna try not to break stuff today. Good evening, Superintendent Stowe, President Park, esteemed members of the board. My name is Nanette Nolan. I am the Director of Leadership for the Torrance Council of PTAs here on behalf of my colleague. Our dear Jan Harada is unable to be here tonight, so I'm here in her stead. I'm here to share just a few updates on some of the initiatives and programs we're spearheading across Torrance right now. So membership drives are in full swing across all 30 of our schools. Can I just say how remarkable it is, by the way, to have an entire school district with all PTAs? That's not all that common, and becoming less common by the minute, unfortunately. So we're really pleased to see very active PTAs. And I want to encourage every member of the community, family, friends, alumni to consider joining and supporting your local PTAs. Your support allows PTA leaders at the national and state level to advocate on behalf of children and families and youth all across the nation. And as well as keep some of that money at the schools and allow PTAs to continue doing the good work that they do there that support the students here locally as well. Also, we've got a very sweet deal for anyone's looking for a bargain. For the ultra low cost of $200, you could actually become a member of all 30 units, which I think is very cool. So that's a partnership between us and our 30 units. So that's very cool for them. You can find more details on joining and membership and PTA in general at torrancecouncilptas.org. And speaking of advocacy, which is actually our primary aim as PTAs, California State PTA has announced its support of Proposition 2, 3, 4, and 5. I won't tie everyone up with having a full-on discussion about those particular props, but encourage everyone to take a look at why the California State PTA has endorsed those particular propositions and the studies that they've conducted that has driven them to those conclusions at capta.org. On a more local front, we have our incredible Project Hope, which supports homeless and foster youth across TUSD. And that's a joint collaboration and partnership with TUSD. So very cool. We're right now doing our Halloween costume drive for foster youth and homeless and children in need across Torrance. You can find a donation list and signups at torrancecouncilptas.org. And then the bookend of that, so you've got cute little kids running around in Freddy Krueger costumes or whatever is the thing today. But we have a sponsor, a graduating senior, which allows us at Torrance Council to work with our high school counterparts as well as TUSD to identify and support end of year activities for graduating seniors. So any amount raised through the sponsor senior program go back to support that, helping kids be able to enjoy the things that I think so many of us enjoyed, and for those of us who have older children, prom, grad night, and the like. And lastly, I would encourage you to also check out our website if you're hungry and want to do some good. So all 30 units are doing good stuff at their schools, but that takes money. So their fundraising activities are in full swing, which includes a lot of restaurant nights and local eateries. So it's a great way to support our local economy, sample some local eateries while also giving back to the community in a way that's not really going to break the bank or do too much harm. I'm sure nobody would complain for a night out, right? So that's the long and short of it. I'm happy to take questions or yes, Mr. Lee.
Yeah, I'm the one without any kids in school, so I don't really have any direct. I'll be more than happy to
You can
join
still
all the
eat our food.
PTAs. So I'll be more than happy to join, but you went really fast with the website.
Oh, yes,
So-
sorry. I am a fast talker and I don't leave a lot of space. I try really hard.
You
It's
shoot me
Torrance.
an email with the link.
I
I'll
know,
just-
Torrance Council of PTAs.org. Or you could just Google Torrance Council PTA and it'll come up because there's not a lot of others out there. Any other questions?
Yes. Thank you so much for your report, Annette.
Absolutely.
Yes, you did go over really fast. Do you mind reminding, saying what propositions that were?
Yes.
let's see.
2, 3, 4, and 5.
Oh, 2, 3, 4, and 5.
Right.
Okay.
And to be clear, California State PTA only ever takes positions, support usually on propositions that are closely aligned to our advocacy framework. So they do a lot of work throughout the year and over the decades on a great variety of things that pertain to families, communities, students, education, safety. So those are the kind of things we focus on heavily.
Great. And they only have positions on things that that are related to education, clearly.
Well, I mean, safety, family engagement, so things that happen in the community as well. But yeah, lot of education. We've had some really interesting ones over the years. Equitable literacy, screening for dyslexia being chief among one of them. Equal access for students with special needs, cognitive disabilities, intellectual disabilities, and the like. So there's a lot of work being done on that front. So really exciting time to be, in the advocacy game. I'm sure you guys are well aware.
Yeah.
But,
Well, as you probably know, I have been a PTA mom or a PTA board member for over 10 years. And
Mhm.
so I have already enrolled to be a PTA member for my respective schools, even though my kids have just recently graduated.
Congratulations.
I plan to continue to be a member in support of your PTAs because you guys really, I mean, I see firsthand that you guys really do a lot for our students and in general. Now that I don't have kids in the school system, I'm still trying to follow as much as I can. Is there any way that we can get emails on what's going on with the TCPTA, such as like Operation Hope that you mentioned? I've always supported that, but I have no notice of it. Or the Halloween drive right now for the costumes.
Yeah,
Like I don't get these emails anymore, so is it possible that you send it to us so we
if
know
you would
what's going
like
on?
an extra email, we will enroll you. But we do put out a newsletter. I wouldn't say with any regularity just yet, but we're getting there. So we have the technology. But yeah, I can definitely take it back to the team and ensure that you guys are getting at least some periodic notices. So not to crowd up your email, too much, but good
Not too
point.
much, yeah.
Nobody else worries about it.
Right.
I want to do the Halloween costume again and hope again.
Oh, it is really sweet.
Yeah,
I
it's
think that too.
very moving
Yeah.
how you guys do it. Thank
Any
you.
other questions?
Yeah, thanks. No, thank you.
Tapped
so
out.
much.
Thank you so much. I appreciate your, all that you guys do to support us and your support as partnership as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Next, we have a report from the Torrance Education Foundation.
Hi, good evening. I'm Dave Ziegelbaum. I'm the Vice President of the Torrance Ed Foundation. Wonderful to see you all here. Unfortunately, our president, Pat Fury, couldn't be here tonight. But on behalf of the TEF board, we'd like to welcome everyone back to school and want to encourage all to participate in the Skechers Peer-to-Peer Friendship Walk. It's on October 20th. October 20th. It is the biggest fundraiser of the year. It starts at 8 a.m. Last year, TUSD led all school districts with 5,279 walkers, each of whom donated $30 for a total of $188,000. It is the biggest fundraiser of the year. We encourage everybody to participate. If we can get 100% participation, that's a lot of money for our schools and a lot of money for our students. Because in turn, TEF donated $212,000 in cash to our various school organizations to help fund their programs. And we did it just about a month after the event. And because of all of our efforts, Skechers donated $440,000 to TEF to help fund our programs. So we try to encourage as much participation as we can. Every school has a TEF ambassador or a representative with all of the info that you need, or you can sign up on the TEF website. It's tefforkids.org. Again, tefforkids.org, or you can always call the office, speak to the staff at 310-972-6970. Lastly, as a quick save the date, please put on your calendars that the annual TEF Celebrate Education Gala will be on May 2nd, 2025 at the
May 22nd,
Please look forward to more info to follow, and thank you for the opportunity.
May 2nd?
May 2nd,
Second, okay.
May 2nd. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions from the board? Thank
Thank you.
you. Thank you so much.
Yeah. It's amazing. How much is it cost?
All right, next we have our superintendent's report.
All right, good evening, everyone. So as I did last time, 2 weeks ago, all of our slides are themed in the elements of the portrait of a graduate. And so walking through some things that happened in the past few weeks. First is the Del Amo Torrance Rotary recognizes a teacher every year with the Arnold C. Plank Teacher of the Year Award. Arnold Plank was the superintendent here in most of the 90s. and contributed a lot to not just the district, but the community as a whole. And Rotary, he was a lifelong Rotarian, and so in his memory, they give this award every year. So Chizuko Morimoto, our TK expert over at Wood Elementary School, was the recipient. We attended a lunch a couple weeks ago where she could talk to the group about the work that she's doing in the classroom, but also pick up a $1,500 check for supplies in that room. And so it was a great event, and we continue to appreciate the support of the Rotary. We have within Healthy Habits and Life Skills, fits right in here, is the Food for Thought Farmers Market has visited 3 of our elementary schools in the past couple weeks. They've done lessons in grades 3 through 5 about healthy eating habits, exercise, nutritional value of fruits and vegetables. And one of the highlights is every student takes home a bag full of fresh, locally grown produce. And so the organization hopes to expand to other schools, but so far they've been to Yukon, Torrance Elementary, and Towers Elementary. Civic engagement and global citizenship. We are honored to be partnered with Torrance Police Department. Sarah Myers and I attended their grand opening for the Real-Time Response Center. This is a state-of-the-art facility at the headquarters. And they showed us drone cameras that they're using to provide surveillance on incidents that occur in the city. They have connection through this real-time response center, all kinds of community access to cameras, as well as the 1,400 cameras that we have on our campuses. They highlighted in particular, and also an article in the Daily Breeze highlighted how they utilized our cameras over at Hamilton Adult School to catch an individual that had a loaded gun or had a weapon in his vehicle who had been seen the night before. And so just based on a tip and looking at the cameras, we're able to apprehend that individual. So this is utilizing technology to create a safer community for all of us, and we appreciate our partnership with the Torrance Police. A program that we've implemented in all of our elementary and middle schools is the Positive Behavior Interventions and Support Program, and want to recognize the work that's happened by our principals, supported by the whole Educational Services Department. And we had 15 schools recognized by the state this year for various levels of implementation and data collected through the PBIS program, including reduced office referrals and suspensions. And so just want to recognize all of the schools, especially Jefferson and Yukon, that received the Gold Award from the state on their positive behavior programs at their schools. Our back to school nights are a great opportunity for communication with parents and collaboration around how to best help our students, and was able to attend several of them. We have some more this week and maybe even next week. But just being able to see, engage with parents, talk to them about the excitement that they're seeing at their schools, and visit the classrooms and the presentations teachers are doing. I had one gentleman come up to me the other night at Madrona Middle School and say that he went through Torrance K-12 and he now has a cert at Madrona, and just how happy he is with Torrance schools, and just for him to go out of his way to come up and say that to me was pretty special. And I know so many of our families feel that way. In particular, he was talking about the physical plant and just how the schools look good. So that was good to know. Good feedback. The next one, growth mindset and lifelong learning. I mean, this is the core of what's happening now. Kids are back in school. They're learning how to use microscopes and engaging in learning activities, and are able to really kind of push their thinking and be able to be challenged and think divergently about how to solve complex problems. And again, this happens in every classroom every day. And finally, we had some visitors from the Japanese Career and College Association visit North High last week. And what they did were they were looking at things that we do to help prepare students for what they are going to do post high school, including our dual enrollment program, the early college program, and our career technical education courses. And so, as always, it's exciting to have international visitors on our campus, but in particular, when they're looking at our programs for what things that they can take away and replicate maybe where they're from. So that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you. It's very, I like the new structure around the theme school. Any other questions or comments from the superintendent's report? Right, we are speeding along. Next, we have our initial proposals between the Torrance Unified School District and Torrance Teachers Association for 2024-2025. Mr. Hernandez.
Good evening, President Park, Board of Trustees, Superintendent Dr. Stowe. Before the board is the sunshines that we have between the Teachers Association and the district. Government Code Section 3547 requires us to present the sunshine. We also have a hearing scheduled for October 21st where the community could chime in and provide comments to the board regarding the sunshine articles. The sunshine for the district to the association, Article 23, salary schedules, Article 24, health and welfare, Article 6, hours of employment, Article 11, class size, Article 27, which is a mutually agreed reopener, which is calendar consideration. Article 28, it's also a mutually agreed item, which is elementary preparation and planning, and also the 26-27 district calendar. That's the proposal for the district to the Teacher Association, and the association to the district is Article 23, compensation and salary, Article 24, benefits, Article 8, teacher safety and student discipline. And the Teachers Association is presenting a new article, creating a new article for dual enrollment early college concurrent enrollment correspondence courses. Article 28, elementary prep and planning time. Article 27, calendar consideration, which is mutually agreed, and also calendar for the 26-27 school year. So these are the two proposals, and the hearing is scheduled for the October 21st board meeting, where the community may present comments.
And we also have a speaker card from Amy Irwin. Do I have to read the notice now before calling her up, or?
This is just, is it for this one?
Yes, it's for 8.5. Do I have to read the notice though, or can she?
Well, there's the public,
It's for agenda.
Yeah.
That's why she can.
Okay, so I'm gonna very quickly speed through the written. So speakers wishing to address the board on agenda topics have completed the appropriate submission form on the district website or in-person speaker card. Time allotted for public comments on agenda items is limited to 3 minutes per comment. Time allotted for each agenda item is 30 minutes per topic. A speaker may not relinquish his or her time to another. So Ms. Amy Irwin.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Amy Irwin. I'm the Vice President of the Torrance Teachers Association, and I'm the Negotiations Chair this year. I'm going to be very short and sweet. I'm here tonight representing more than 1,200 members of the Torrance Teachers Association as we formally kick off our 2024. Can you guys hear this?
Yes.
Contract campaign by sharing our initial proposal for contract reopeners. We look forward to bargaining in good faith with the district, and we look forward to a fair settlement that addresses the needs of our membership, your employees. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. I was not expecting that. All right.
$1.98 beauty contest.
Are there any questions or comments from the board regarding 8.5? If not, I'll move on to our public hearing. So we have our public hearing on the sufficiency of textbooks and instructional materials. This is a duly noticed public hearing for Educational Code, Section 60119, 1240.3 and 42605 regarding the sufficiency of textbooks and instructional materials for the 2024-2025 school year. Any interested persons are now afforded the opportunity to be heard. There anyone to speak? I don't see any. And so since no majority protest has been filed, this hearing is now concluded and the board may now consider the sufficiency of textbooks and instructional materials for school year 2024-2025.
Do we need a motion? We're good. This was the first thing my wife taught me about education was the Williams Act. The very first time.
Right. Okay, I'm gonna do this again for 9.2, public hearing to consider awarding an energy service agreement related to the CalShape program to Pacific West Energy Solutions to implement energy conservation related improvements at multiple district locations. Should I just dive straight? Oh, Dr. Butler, go for it. Yes, sorry.
It's just opening the hearing, asking for comments, and if none, closing the hearing, please. Thank you.
Got it. Great. This is a duly noticed public hearing under California Government Code Sections 4217.10 through 4217.18 on the consideration to award an energy services agreement related to the CalShape program to Pacific West Energy Solutions Incorporated to implement energy conservation related improvements at multiple district locations. Have any written comments been received from any person as to the notice of public hearing since August 15th, 2024? None. Since no written comments have been received, is there anyone present who wishes to comment on the consideration to award an energy services agreement related to the CalShape program to Pacific West Energy Solutions Incorporated to implement energy conservation related improvements at multiple district locations presented for adoption in tonight's agenda?
Quick question.
Yes.
Dr. Butler, do you know, have they identified the multiple locations yet or no? Or are they going to let us know when we get awarded?
If we get awarded, we have already submitted an assessment report that does identify which existing air conditioning systems might get rehabilitated.
Thank you.
So that's what this means, right? It's rehabilitating air
Exactly.
That's what the word jump. Okay. And then so if there's anyone present, please state your name prior to making your comments. I see none. So I will close the public hearing. All right. Next we have our oral communications on non-agenda items. The Board of Education welcomes input from the public. Speakers wishing to address the board on non-agenda topics have completed the appropriate submission form on the district website or in-person speaker card. Time allotted for public comments on non-agenda items is limited to 3 minutes for comment and for a total of 30 minutes. The speaker may not relinquish his or her time. Do I have our time creeper ready?
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we have first we have Charles Michael Deemer for speaking on Metro Youth Council.
Greetings, school board and staff. Metro, the county transportation agency, will be having a youth summit this Saturday from 9 a.m. to 10:30 p.m. at the Union Station Ticketing Concourse Room. It is an event by youth for youth. The easiest way to attend would be to take the Silver J line, of 910, 950 on the numbers, at the Harbor Gateway Transit Center that's across from Home Depot on 182nd Street, just off of Vermont Avenue. You should plan on leaving from Harbor Gateway Transit Center no later than 7:40 a.m. to get to Union Station early enough to get settled in. It's possible that students can receive volunteer credit for attending and participating at the event. It's principally high school students, but if you're 7th and 8th grade, I don't think they would turn them down. It wasn't clear at the meeting last Friday what the minimum age was. A couple of years ago, Metro established a youth council, and they're now taking applications for calendar year 2025. The deadline for submission is Tuesday, October 1st at 6 p.m. On Thursday, September 26th at 6 p.m., Metro will have an online information session for students considering applying for this position and may be able to ask questions about the program. For more information in a general sense, you can go to www.metro.net/youth council. And youth council is all one squashed together. Or call 213-922-2852 or email metroyouthcouncil@metro.net. The South Bay area gets 3 seats on this council, and I have yet to see any representative from Torrance serve on this council. There's only been about 3 years that have been going on. The terms are for 1 year and are open to students between the ages of 14 and 17 living in Los Angeles County. The Youth Council meets online on the third Monday of each month, which might disqualify anyone who's considering applying to be one of TUSD's student representatives through the year. Now, I have the agenda item from last Friday's meeting. Who would I have has a little more information about it? And any questions about the Youth Council?
I think we're good.
We're not allowed to speak during
Yeah.
public comment.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you very much. All right. Next, we have Charlotte Eaton. That's what, yes, you spelled it. You spelled it out for me. My bad.
Good evening, Torrance Unified School Board and President. My name is Charlotte Eaton, and I stand before you tonight wearing 3 virtual hats. As a 30-year City of Torrance veteran who actively votes, parent of children who have attended K through 12 in TUSD, and as someone who has taught for nearly 10 years in the district. In light of the recent heat wave that affected the South Bay and Southern California, I'd like to ask the reason air conditioning has not been installed in all Torrance Unified classrooms, especially during a time when student enrollments are at such a premium in the South Bay. I would think that keeping pace with our area districts is more important than ever. And I don't mean installing digital clocks in the classrooms, mailing full color brochures regarding the state of the schools, and other such things that don't really improve the day-to-day instruction of our students. Although it is a much smaller school district, Redondo started installing air conditioning in 2017 through a state bond measure. Palos Verdes is in the process of installing air conditioning, and most area private schools already have AC. On September 6, 2024, one of the classrooms I co-teach in reached 92 degrees, and this is not the first time this has happened. Every fall, spring, and whenever the Santa Ana winds blow, temperatures reach 83 degrees or higher in many of the Torrance Unified classrooms. Students are not engaged during these heat occurrences, and teachers find it difficult to function as well. I nearly fainted in the classroom that week after suffering a mild case of heat exhaustion, and I had been dressed for the heat and well hydrated. Many students fainted on campus during the heat wave. A quick look into working conditions online showed me that California has a recommendation in place for indoor workplaces that reach 83 or 87 degrees, depending on the circumstances. What is Torrance Unified actively doing to comply with these recommendations? Torrance Unified has demonstrated the ability to obtain bond measures in the past to build an aquatic center, softball field, performing arts centers, and renovate school campuses, among other things. So why can't a bond measure for air conditioning be garnered, especially as we continue to experience the effects of climate change? I realize such an undertaking would cost upwards of $500 million, but are you waiting for a teacher or a student to sue the district for heat exhaustion or worse before action is taken? Until schools have air conditioning, I challenge all administrators and district employees to disable their own air conditioning units in solidarity with the students we are here to serve. It's really cool in here tonight, by the way. Thank you for your time and good evening.
Thank you. Thank you. And finally, we have Andy Porkchop.
Hello, everyone. I'm Andy Porkchop, and just want to talk about that this year again. I received 3 letters, from high school and 2 elementary schools, and I think that's a big waste of time and money. I did not even open it up because the previous couple of years, it said how great job you do and how excellent the education system and everything. So I all knew that. I just don't know, why do you waste money on these letters? You know what I mean? Because contrary to this information, what you gave us, I'm waking up every morning, car slamming, front of my window, not one, a bunch of car from like 7:30 till 8:30. Then after I hear screaming, yelling children, and after I hear car door slamming, I have to adjust my wife doctor's appointments just to get out of the area. So these are excellent jobs and what you do. And also excellent job to send me 3 letters about it. You know what I mean? Okay, so jump to the other thing. Basically, I'm very disappointed Pat Fury did not show up. He sent his body, he's a city commissioner, by the way, so I don't know how's that, he's a Pat Fury friend. But anyway, so Pat Fury's organization, as I told you before, not something the Torrance School District should be, line up with, because Pat Fury raises $1 million and spends $860,000 fundraising. That's what they invited you to the hotel, dining and wining, and that's where the money goes. So the Torrance School District, instead of Pat Fury, should get involved with the other organization who may be raising $1 million, would give the Torrance School District $860 million. You know what I mean? Because what I heard, anybody who uses money more than 25% for fundraising, that's not a good organization. You know what I mean? But that's just me. And the other thing also, it's very hard to find any data what should be on the internet, the tax return. It's not there. So anyway, one more thing. We're gonna have electricity shortages. Get ready to deal with it.
Time's up.
Thank you very much for your comments.
Okay,
Thank
next
you.
week
I
I
see
come.
another card, so
Yeah.
you'll be back. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Next we have, so this is 11.1, which I already read the notice for. So, Andy Porkchop, you have 3 more minutes. Is it, there's 11.1 and 11.2.
11.1 is an item.
11 point, oh, you're right. 11.2, 11 point,
3.
okay, so there's 11.2 here.
Are you talking about me?
Yes,
Okay.
you put it, 11.2.
I spent some time today, try to get this on the internet, but this lady told me how to do it in the future. I don't know if you guys know about it. I'm paying like $860 extra on my property taxes because the school bonds. You know what I mean? So I'm reading here, you are thinking about $5 million school bonds again, 125 million school bonds again. Who's gonna pay this back? Who's gonna pay this back? And all the $350 million and this $1 million school bonds, what we're paying back, all we get, overcrowded schools. Open enrollment. Open enrollment. That's what I pay my property taxes for open enrollment. So people stupid to buy a house here, they can buy a house in Lomita and put their kids on the bus 232 and come to school here. And you, year after year, just releasing bonds, because bonds is what you don't have the money to repay it, so you have the taxpayers to repay it. And you're talking about $125,000 or $170,000. Huh? Who's gonna pay for this? We overtaxed. We cannot even get out of our cover. We have to go and see when the children not coming out of school, when the parents don't blocking off the roads. And you're coming up with these expenses and you're giving raises to yourself. Everybody honk-dory here, but the taxpayers have to pay for this. Of what? You have an old population in Torrance. Everybody's on fixed income. And you shipping in more students and you releasing more bonds? And you sending me letters? How good is that for me? How good is that for me? How good? Shame on you.
Perhaps we should have had the explanation of the item before comments. I apologize
problem.
for that. Okay, sorry.
So in dealing first with 11.2 and the an individual's comment here, Mr. Porkchop, this is a $5 million issuance of Measure T. So as originally authorized, it allowed for a $5 million issuance every 5 years in order to refresh computers and technology. And the board will be presented with a specific plan for the Measure T dollars at the October 21st board meeting. What you're doing here tonight is the authorization to go forward and issue that. We'll have a presentation from Randy Merritt at ISM Advisors, but it should be noted, you'll see it in the presentation, that we originally projected under Measure T that this portion of it would be $20 per 100,000 for the tax rate. It's consistently been below that, and even with this issuance, it stays below that, coming in at approximately $18 more or less on average through the time. So we're actually doing better than what was promised to the taxpayers originally for the approval of this funding source. On the second item, it's not an additional 125 million that's going out. It's actually a refunding, getting a lower interest rate on bonds that are already issued, and we'll be saving the taxpayers approximately $9 million over the period of time with that, $7 million net present value today. So with that, that's addressing the individuals, the individual who spoke. But Mr. Merritt, if you'd like to come forward and make your presentation, please, from ISM Advisors. And we also have Jin Kim as well from Piper Sandler. Mr. Merritt is representing our financial advisor, giving us advice on how best to go about and do these issuances. And Mr. Kim will be doing the underwriting through his firm, Piper Sandler. Thank you.
Good evening, board, and everyone should have a presentation in front of them. So I wanted to talk about the two items on the agenda tonight. I'll start first with the $5 million new money financing, which has been part of the ongoing program to refresh technology within the district. It's been about 5 years since I've been here to talk about general obligation bonds. And so I wanted to first start with just a little bit of a summary in terms of what's been going on with your tax base and your assessed valuation, because that serves as the engine that helps support the bonds. So if you look at the chart on 3, you can see that the tax base has grown about 134% since 2005, with pretty robust growth over the last 5 years. Compounded annual growth over that period is just over 4%. And that's important because as we plan for bond issuances, we have to make certain assumptions about how the tax base is going to grow. And we've been assuming 3.5%. For the bond program going back a number of years. So we've been outperforming our projections, which means the taxpayers see a little bit lower tax rate than we were projecting. Turning to page 4, specifically talking about Measure T. As you might recall, the district approved a bond of 144.3 million. 124.3 million has been issued. There's $20 million remaining under that bond authorization. What we're contemplating for this current financing is the issuance of 5 million. That would be followed by subsequent issuances of $5 million in the future until that authorization is exhausted. Current tax rate on the Measure T bonds, about $18 per 100,000. And you can see that in graphical form if you turn to page 5. Where at the time of the election, we estimated that the tax rate would be $20 per 100,000 for the Measure T. You can see that if you look at the bonds that have been currently issued, as well as the bonds that are contemplated to be sold in the future, we're projecting tax rates will be under the $20. Any questions on Measure T before I move on to talk about the refinancing? So I'm on page 7. In 2015, the district sold 3 series of bonds. Those bonds are currently eligible to be refinanced with lower interest rates.
we project the savings currently in the current market to be about $9.3 million to the taxpayers. Thank you. Page 8 is just an interest rate chart that tracks interest rates over time. We're all aware that interest rates were very low for a period of time around COVID, have crept back up, but in the context of an overall historical standpoint, we still remain at or below average interest rates. Diving a little deeper into the detailed savings, you can see here what the existing debt payments are from 2025 out to 2040, what the projected refinancing payments would look like, and then the difference, which would be the savings that amounts to about 9.3 million. Moving on to page 11, this is just a summary of both financings kind of side by side, so you can see some of the high level details. These also match the good faith estimates that are in both of the resolutions tonight. And lastly is a tentative schedule showing that if the district board decides to move forward, that we would then move forward with the process of presenting the district's information to the bond rating agencies, as well as then moving on with the preparation of legal documents and then entering the market to set the interest rates.
So
Any
that,
questions?
yeah, that's the information we're presenting. Any questions from the board on either tier refunding, please?
Mr. Isom, in looking at, and I'm sure there's a reason, in looking at Measure T and the refunding, there's about 50 basis points difference in the true interest cost. Why is that? Because it's a refunding bond or the cost or what?
It's relating to the term or the time that it's amortized over. And so
Shorter term. Okay.
the
good.
tech bonds
Got
are
it.
5 years.
Thanks. Yeah, thank you.
Just out of curiosity, does the Fed rate cutting cycle, does that affect bond rates at all? Or is it completely a different thing?
It does.
So that's why I was wondering, so like.
We have our underwriter here. who,
Yeah, because obviously
is
we're getting
responsible
to
for
a rate
selling
cutting
the bond.
cycle, so like in the next year, they're talking about 250 basis points, so that's a lot. If that ever happens, and so does that affect our rates?
Sure. Jen, would you like to comment?
Sure, of course. So good evening, Madam President, members of the board. Just echoing Dr. Butler's introduction, my name is Jen Kim. I'm here on behalf of Piper Sandler. So addressing your question about Federal Reserve Board's actions, yes, they do have an impact on the overall interest rates. And that in turn has an impact on your school bond interest rates. In terms of what that impact is, that varies on a number of different things. Some days, let's say a single point decrease in the Federal Reserve's interest rates may have an equal percentage weight in terms of your bond interest rate. Other times, it might be a slightly less. Sometimes it might be more. It all depends on the investor's risk appetite. You know, what I would say right now about the bond market is it's calm and steady because of the anticipated reduction in interest rates by the federal board. That's providing some, I would say, confidence for the investors. And that's providing some steady interest rate environment for school district bonds, right? And so in this situations like this, you may see one for one movement. In cases where investors are not feeling calm and there is more perceived risk, then you may not see the full benefit of the actions taken by the Federal Reserve Board. I hope that answers some of your questions.
So that's why the timing of the refunding, right? How do we determine what the best time is for that refunding time, right? I'm just trying to understand, like, would it be better if we held off until the cuts were happening? Or like you said, you feel confident right now that it's gonna be pretty much stable? Because I feel like they already kind of baked in some of these cuts. And so I'm just kind of wondering what your thought is about the timing of the refunding cycle.
Sure. I think based on the financing schedule that was shared with you, if you notice that we are planning to lock in the interest rates right before election cycle. And one of the things why that's important is if you remember 4 years ago, what happened after the election was that we saw some volatility in the interest rate market. As a matter of fact, there was a school district 4 years ago in which I represented was thinking about refinancing. And then on the day of the on the day of the election, we saw a spike in interest rate, regardless of what the Federal Reserve did, regardless of what the investors did. There was just an uncertainty involved with the new administration. And as a result of that, that school district's refinancing no longer made any economic sense. So we pulled that bond issue. So in terms of timing, I think it is good to go before election cycle to limit that, mitigate that potential election risk. In terms of the Federal Reserve Board will continue to act, most likely. Our economists predict, or they have a strong consensus that we'll see at least a 0.25% decrease in interest rates by this Wednesday. There's a strong consensus that we might see 0.5% decrease in interest rates. Now, that's going to play into your favor because these decreases will be factored in to your interest rate that we will be locking in prior to election date. And right now, what's good is there aren't too many bond issues that are occurring right now. And that's a good time to be selling your bonds because just the fundamental economics of supply and demand, low supply of bond issues means that you will get more demand from investors to purchase your bonds. And when that happens, you create this competition among investors to buy your bonds, meaning they're going to drive down the interest rates. So that'll lock in a larger savings than what we might estimate now. Yes.
What's the current rate right now? I know we're expecting about 3.36, right? What's
Yes.
the current, just so we have an idea?
I would say your average right now, even though this is an estimate from you, I would say we're probably between 3 and 3.3 right now, just on the refinancing portion.
No, what are we at right now? Our rate.
Average is 405.
Oh, the old bond.
Yes.
Yes, that's 405.
405.
Yes.
I see. And how soon can we, let's say, do it again? For example, if rates further drop significantly, when after this process here, what's the earliest we can go back again to get a better rate?
Yeah, so we're continually monitoring this. One of the reasons why we're looking at this 2015 issuance is because it's eligible to be refinanced now.
Okay.
When bonds are sold, they often have these lockout periods for 8 or 10 years where the investors, you can't take the bonds away from investors. So we're within the window for these 2015 bonds. As time goes on, we'll continue to monitor the other bonds that are outstanding for the same opportunities, and provide the interest rate environment allows us, we would maybe come back and suggest doing something similar.
Yeah, a little bit. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Well, to add just a little bit more to that. We also had an opportunity to refund some bonds that are not eligible to do that for free, but to pay a premium on top of to do. And in our analysis, we agreed this is not the time to do that, just in case we do have some further interest rate cuts. No need to pay a premium on top of. Let's wait.
The service fees would be similar if we were to do this again. Is it like this?
Yes, there are fees that get done similar to that for every bond issuance. In fact, you'll see even the difference in cost, in the size of the two different bonds, part of those costs are the same. It just is the cost of bond counsel when you do an issuance. And so we have bond counsel that's the same price for T as it is for the refunding, even though there's a larger dollar amount involved. But then similarly, less underwriting costs on the smaller versus the larger, because that's very much driven by the size of the bond.
Okay.
Okay, so we don't want to do it like frequently because.
Not frequently, exactly.
And that's just another reason why you talk about timing of the refunding. The refunding works on its own. We would be recommending that anyways, but you have this $5 million issuance. So there is an opportunity to pair it together to get some of that cost efficient.
So for example, we did negotiate with our financial advisor, if you will, we got buy one, get one half off. So we got some savings on the second issuance doing it at the same time. We also saved on bond counsel as well by just saying, okay, we're doing two together. Can we save a little bit on that? So we do look out for your interest on that and the taxpayers' interest.
Just a quick question on slide 4. I think that's the measure T. I just want to clarify, this is not a new bond issuance, right? This is a bond that was already approved for 144, just that we're issuing the last of the $20 million and $5 million.
We received authorization for the 144 million. We had only issued so far 122 million. So the correct terminology would be, it's not new authorization, but there are new bonds going out under the existing authorization.
But the authorization was done back originally, measure T.
Correct.
In 2014.
2014.
Okay, any other questions or comments from the board? Yes.
Yeah, just a couple of things since I kind of had something to do with T and U. Just because people we'll kind of forget sometimes, of all four bonds that Torrance Unified passed between 2008 and 2016, 14, why do we keep getting it later? The lowest any one bond got was 64%. The highest one bond got was 74%. Nothing in the community has done anything anybody's run for. Nobody running for election has gotten those kinds of numbers or any measure. Also, Measure T passed at about 67%. So that was above 2/3 of the people in the community that saw a need for the schools to get these things. Also, the refinance is something that has been done a few times in the past as well, because this board and this management team has taken a fiduciary responsibility to citizens of Torrance to make sure that we do everything possible to keep the cost of these bonds as low as possible. They approved them. They're their bonds. That we can't unilaterally do that. So the citizens of Torrance, the supermajority in the case of Measure T, voted to improve the schools. And then also an important piece of Measure T when we did it was technology and those kinds of things. And the thought was that we were going to need technology well into the future. So the thought was that we would have a series of $5 million bonds on a 5-year basis to be able to refresh technology. And somebody said, well, inflation will drive up the cost. Well, technology goes down every year. So we thought that would be an adequate amount of money going into the future to be able to give the children of Torrance Unified the best possible technology and the best possible learning environment. So as you can tell, I'm kind of proud of it. But I think it showed a commitment by the community to this school district. And I think from a fiduciary and an execution level, we've met that challenge. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. So if there are no further questions or comments, could I take a motion to adopt a resolution? Could we bundle them together or separately? Separate. Okay. Could I take a motion to adopt resolution number AS05-2425 of the Board of Education of the Torrance Unified School District authorizing the issuance and sale of not to exceed $5 million aggregate principal amount of bonds of the district by negotiated sale, approving the form of and authorizing the execution and delivery of a bond purchase agreement and a continuing disclosure certificate approving the form of an official statement for the bonds and authorizing related actions.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Next, we have, can I take a motion to adopt resolution number AS06-2425 of the Board of Education of the Torrance Unified School District, authorizing the sale and issuance of not to exceed $125 million aggregate principal amount of general obligation refunding bonds in one or more series, approving the forms of and authorizing the execution and delivery of one or more escrow agreements, bond purchase agreements, and continuing disclosure certificates, approving the form of one or more official statements and authorizing the execution of necessary documents and certificates and related actions.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
This is like very, very detailed. Finally, can I take a motion to adopt resolution number AS07-2425 declaring the usage of government code section 20,
That's
40.
a separate.
That's
yeah,
Oh, that's separate.
Different. You guys are good.
We're good.
Thank you. Sorry, my bad. Yes.
Just keep reading and we'll do the whole agenda.
Yes, Dr. Butler, 11.4.
Happy to. And 11.4 and 11.5 go together, and this ties into the public hearing that was earlier around energy services contracts. So the board used the same method of approaching the CalShape grant when we got the first grant, which was for assessing and minor repairs, filter replacements under CalShape. We got about 1.7 million for that. CalShape was set up to then be ready for another round of funding, in this case, 6 million for us to repair, rehabilitate our air conditioning units that are in the worst condition. And that's what the assessment was in order to figure out what needed to be worked on. And last minute, not just us, but districts across the state, the CalShape funding was pulled. It was not authorized, but there's still lots of discussion about how to make that go forward. You have everyone from the facilities, the school facilities consultants that we work with, our legislative advocates are all still behind. This is a good program. Please fund this program. So the action that you're taking here is teeing us up to be near the front of the line if that funding is restored. There are districts that are just waiting and seeing it. If it ever gets done, they'll put their toe in the water. But the money flows out first come, first served. So we believe it's prudent to at least ask for your action on this tonight. And if that funding gets restored, we'll be right up there ready to go.
So out of curiosity, why would districts wait? Why would they not want to tee it up? I'm just curious. Why that makes so much sense, but I'm wondering why wouldn't they do that?
You know, we had this discussion with Pacific West, that is our contractor that we're hoping to use for this. And she said, just some don't like to take action until something's right on their plate and in front of them. That's just the way that some boards approach things.
Okay.
I'm fortunate to work with a board that's proactive and fiscally conservative.
I like saving money, so this, yeah.
So motion to approve?
I'll second it.
All those in favor to adopt resolution number AS 07-2425?
Aye.
Aye. Right. Thank
And then 11.5 is the actual contract with Pacific West. So that would be a separate motion, please.
Can I take a motion to approve entering into a CalShape related energy services agreement with Pacific West Energy Solutions Incorporated?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Next, we have approval of polling places for the 2024 presidential general election.
Thank you again. So this falls under facilities use. And so I've brought this item forward for the board to consider. So the same 5 that we've used before, we did have one request from Jefferson to have some additional security just to make sure that there's a separation between people coming into the polling place and our students. No problem with that. And we do get reimbursed by the LA County Registrar Office, the Office of Registrar Recorder, for virtually all of the costs that we have involved. Sometimes it's a little bit of a wash, but in general, we get reimbursed. So we would like the board to consider the same 5 polling places for the November general election.
So when you say it's a wash, they just pay our staff expenses, but they don't rent out the facility.
That is correct. They're just paying for the additional costs that we're
security
coming across exactly for doing the election.
But they're not going to pay us any rent, right?
No.
Just asking. I'm just trying to see.
You don't ask, you don't get. In this case, you ask, you still don't get.
All right, so schools would be Hull, Jefferson, North, South, and Leafy.
I'll
a
make
great
a
idea.
motion to approve.
Yeah.
Second. All those in favor? Aye.
Thank you.
And then, yes, next we have our a motion to adopt resolution for textbook and instructional materials compliance and certification of provision of standards aligned instructional materials for the 2024-2025 school year. Is this Dr. Crumpy?
Make a motion to approve.
Oh, okay.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Right. Next, we have approval of proposed updates to board policies and board bylaws, June 2024 revision, second reading. I know that we had some comments on this at our last meeting. Would anyone like to?
So I make a motion to approve. I finally got through it all. So looks good. So I make a motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Next, we have approval of proposed Title IX updates to board policies, July 2024, first reading.
Can I make a motion to approve and waive the second reading?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Finally, we have approval of proposed updates to Series 4000 board policies, first reading.
I'll make a motion to approve and waive the second reading.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Now we're on to the consent agenda, approval of consent agenda as a whole. All matters listed on the consent calendar 13.1, general functions consent through 18.7. Administrative services consent are considered to be routine and will be enacted with one vote. There is no discussion of consent calendar items unless members of the governing board, public, or staff request that specific items be removed from the consent calendar for separate action. All of the public comments were for agenda items that were not on the consent agenda. I don't see.
I'll make a motion to approve them all.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, wow. All right.
You're moving today.
Yeah, all right. Next we have, just for information, we have our revisions to administrative regulations and exhibits, Title IX. Okay, we've already gone over that. We have comments from the members of the Board of Education. We have Mrs. Liu for our Laxta Board of Education representative report.
Sure. I do have a doctorate degree.
Oh.
so-
Everyone
It's
fine
fine.
now.
It's all good.
Mhm.
From Laxta, Los Angeles County School Trustees Association, there's no report yet from them.
One, yes, sir.
And do you want me to continue on with my other comments?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay.
Mhm.
There are no, I usually do the classified employees anniversaries, and there are none for this month. So I won't be doing that. I just want to quickly mention a couple of resolutions that we've passed in our consent agenda just now. The first is the 13.4, the resolution proclaiming October 10th, 2024 as World Mental Health Day. As many people might know, mental health has always been one of my top priorities. So I want to point out that, say a little bit about this resolution for October 10th. This designation was created by the World Federation of Mental Health in 1992. And World Mental Health Day is an educational and awareness campaign designed to encourage people to talk, reflect, and engage with others on the importance of mental health and the reality of mental illness. I just want to point that out on this special day, and that our district is definitely fully in support of that, of mental health awareness. And we do have a lot of resources available for our students and employees in regarding to this. Another one is from item number 13.5. It is a resolution in support of California Clean Air Day on October 2nd, which is always, this Clean Air Day is always on the first Wednesday of October. And this designation was put on by the only statewide nonprofit organization specifically devoted to clean air, and it is called Coalition for Clean Air. I am mentioning this not only because I was a proud board member of the Coalition for Clean Air, but I also want to use this opportunity to point out that to let the public know that we have a committee in our district called the Smaller Footprints Committee that's devoted to sustainability, environment, and, of course, including clean air. And this committee is open to all students and employees to join. So if you're interested, feel free to contact me or President Park or our CBO, Dr. Keith Butler, and I will give out his email address, which is butler.keith@TUSD.org if you're interested in joining our committee for the environment. And so going back to this resolution, one of the quotes that I want to remind people of is that individual actions such as not idling vehicles, carpooling, conserving energy, and walking or biking to work and school can directly improve air quality in our district. So I do see a lot of cars idling outside our schools at the end of the day. And if we can possibly not do that, that would be much better for our air quality, especially for the air quality around our schools where our children and students are. And last but not least, we have a resolution proclaiming October 13th to 19th as the week of the school administrator. So I just want to say a quick thank you to our school administrators for all the wonderful work that you've done, and that know that we encourage the public recognition and the contribution that you school administrators make to successful pupil achievement. And also want to mention the Education Code, California Education Code actually mentions this special week for the school administrators too. And that's it for my orals.
Thank you, Mrs. Dr. Liu. Next, we have our SoCal Rock Board of Education representative report from Mr. Han.
We have our meeting this Thursday, so I'll report next time. Next meeting, I'll be giving a report.
Would you like to continue with your comments?
Yeah, I can right now. Okay.
Whenever.
Thank you for everyone coming today. Just a couple of things. Obviously, we approved the polling stations, and so which is great because of the fact that we want to encourage everyone to vote. In November, it's coming up, and so easy access. Our schools are right there, and I think it's a great way for us to be a part of the democratic process. We're going to be electing a new board member, so two new board member, one new board member. That's right.
Replace me.
Yeah. So again, you have a voice. Maybe you can even have a voice for our school board as well. So we want to encourage everyone to vote. One of the things I kind of wanted to bring up today in our board meeting is regarding what one of the members, one of the people in the audience brought up today. So obviously the issue this past week, it seems like a long time ago because it's so cold today, but a week ago, we actually had to have a minimized day for our students because of excessive heat. I know that there are many of those who argue that we need to have air conditioning in our schools, and I'm sure that we would love to have air conditioning in our schools. However, we know that at the same time that there's an extreme cost when it comes to the air conditioners. We're going to talk about a few $100 million, not a few million, few $100 million for us. And again, it would require for us to pass a bond on that issue. Now, whether or not we decide to go with the bond or not go with the bond, it's going to be a while. It's going to take a couple of years to do this, right? But what I want to suggest is that we as a district come with a heat mitigating plan. I think that this planning needs to be thought up and planned out. One of the things is that we decided to have a minimized day on the last day of the heat wave, and it was the coolest of the 4 days. I felt like it was a little too late. Rather than being proactive, I felt like that we were being reactive. And so one of the things I felt like we could have done is been a little bit more proactive in the sense that have a mitigating plan of when a temperature reaches a certain temperature. What will be our plan? How will we communicate to the public? What will we do within our schools? So, for example, like which we're already doing, like have cool rooms at each school designated. Said, you know what, this period of time, we're gonna have kids gonna be able to go in the room so they can cool down. We have all the water fountains functioning. We'll have water bottles, whatever it may be. I don't even know what that looks like, but I think that we need to have a mitigating plan so that when a temperature comes, rather than having a discussion of what should we do or have kids leave school, which is the last thing I want kids to do is to leave school because of heat, right? How do we keep kids in school where they can be healthy, where the teachers can be healthy, where they won't have heat exhaustion? What are our mitigating plans? And I think I would like to ask if the district or our district would be able to come with a plan so that when a certain temperature is reached, that we will enact these mitigation plans. Because my concern now is that because we've done this now, that we dismiss kids on this past week, Monday, now will it mean that every time the temperature reaches 90 degrees, we're going to have minimal days? I highly doubt that. And so therefore, if we're not going to do that, then I think that we need to draft a extreme heat mitigation plan and to kind of like show us the plan so that we can see it, so that the public can be aware of it, that, hey, when the temperature reaches above 90 degrees or not, whatever that temperature gauge is, that these are the things that we're going to enact so that the kids can be safe and sound at the school. One of the things that we received this past week from our communication department that I thought was excellent was our earthquake email. And the email that came out from Sarah Myers and the team was a great email because, again, it shared with us what we were doing in the midst of the earthquake. The schools were safe. This is what we did, so that the public was aware that these are the steps that we took to ensure the safety of our students. It created a sense of calm for the public. It provided information for the public, and it gave a sense of peace knowing that, hey, our kids are safe. In the same way, I think that the way that when we go to those extreme heat moments, that we can send out the same message where the students or the parents and the public are aware that these are the steps that we're taking so that they can say, oh, our students are safe, everything's going to be okay. And so that's some of the things I just thought about when we're going through that whole heat wave. I want the public to know we heard you. We heard you loud and clear, right? And again, we're going to have discussions about this bond issue, right? But the question then is, until that day comes, whether we do or not do it, we need to have a plan in place, something in place, not to say that's not in place already, but something more like where we can review it and kind of more holistic in every way that we can be able to share. So it'd be great that we would know that that plan is there so that when it does come again, the public is aware of it. That's it. Thank you.
Would you like to go
Aggressive.
next?
Yeah, I do. I do. Along the same lines, I do feel that these temperatures and these heat waves are going to happen, and they're going to happen again. And I think we need to have a larger conversation about how are we going to situate our district in the long run with air conditionings. What does that look like? I know we talk about a bond, and I know the communities is kind of interested in what are we going to do. So I think we need to have a larger conversation about what does our long-term plan look like? If there's a cost associated with it, what is that cost estimation? If there's a bond, what does that timeline look like? Just so that, you know, we know where we're headed with air conditioning in our classrooms. In the short term, yeah, I think, you know, what can we do as these elevated heat and these weeks or months come about? You know, what are we doing to kind of prepare for that in the interim? Because majority of our classrooms don't have air conditioning. And so what are we doing in the interim to kind of help plan for that? So I think a long-term conversation and then a short-term conversation, but along the general theme. So maybe staff could come back with some thoughts and some ideas about that. Thank you.
Yeah, a couple of things. I will, Mr. Deemer in the audience will appreciate this. I went to my 50th class reunion for Torrance High School this last Saturday. Since that's probably more years than most of this board's been alive, makes me feel old. But it was certainly nice to see that a few of us are still alive and had a pretty good time. And it was a very pleasant day. So I fully recommend it for everybody out there. I'm looking at our student rep who's looking at me like a Martian for having a 50th class reunion, but I've been where you're at and it will happen. So, and then to follow up on Mr. Hahn's voting, please do vote. It'll be my district. It's kind of an odd shaped district. It kind of runs from the corner of Anza and Torrance Boulevard all the way to the Lomita border on the other side across town. But if it appears on your ballot, on your sample ballot, you're in the district, and there are 3 fine choices to replace me. The last thing was, yeah, we're talking about bonds and what's interesting and air conditioning. And as the old guy here, I can talk about how every September and October we have had exactly the same conversation. It seems to be some years are better than others. I don't know if it's getting worse or better, but you know, it probably from what I read in the paper, it's going to get worse. We had costed out bonds, I mean, air conditioning way back, and it was a little less than 300 million bucks. I would given that a sheet of plywood in 2020 cost $20 and today it costs about 75 bucks. If we apply that inflation to air conditioning costs, you can just imagine what we're looking at. But with that said, it probably isn't a bad thing to look at because we haven't looked at it in a while. But I would recommend that if we were going to look at air conditioning, we look at all the district's needs. You know, not just air conditioning. There's been talk of upgrading science areas in the high schools. There's a number of things out there that have been talked about. I think if you're going to go through the process of looking at bonds, at least from past practices, you normally would start a couple of years in advance, which would be about now. You would typically put together some sort of citizens committee to go out and assess the school sites one by one, come up with what those sites need and don't need. Then once you get all of that, then cost it out. It'll be probably $100 trillion, but that'll be what it is. And then at that point, you know, the board can look at their priorities, but then you also go out and talk to the community and see what their priorities are, because ultimately in a bond, it's the community that decides, not us. And so we found that some things pulled well and we took them off the bond. We found that some things did better than we thought. We kept them in. We also asked the community how much they're willing to pay. And that's the other piece of it. So you kind of back into, you have your list of favorites, and then you back into it by what you think the community is willing to pay. And then you go work hard and work in the community, includes the whole board, includes everybody in this room, includes everybody in this community to work hard to get these to pass. And if the community thinks it's important, they pass. And, their threshold's 55%, but this district has always traditionally done much better than that with the last 4. But to go the other way, the previous 5 of the previous 6 did not pass. So understand that every bond stands on its own, and it really takes a lot of effort from everyone to pass them. So I won't be here. It's up to the new generation to decide. My phone rings, but I'm not really into meetings. So, but again, what you're looking at is probably, if this is something we as a board, for a couple more meetings, want to look at, then that's probably something that you're going to have to start to look at now, have discussions among yourselves, see what's important. Superintendent, Dr. Butler, pretty much everybody in this room will be involved. So I just kind of wanted to throw that in this meeting, since it's been a bit of a conversation. And also, when you look at air conditioning, you have to look at continuing cost. The electric bill will be affected, as well as maintenance and other things that go with these kinds of items. And the other thing is, do it the right way. There have been local districts that have not done air conditioning the correct way, and that can create problems downstream, both from a maintenance standpoint and issues with the Department of State Architects. That's it. Thank you.
Yeah, as reflecting, all of these conversations are giving me flashbacks of when I was serving in the Peace Corps in Cambodia. Temperatures were 90s to 100s year round, no electricity, and corrugated metal roofs. So you can imagine how that traps the heat. And so it's left me with my one superpower of, I don't get too bothered by the heat, but I'm probably, people are gonna hate me for saying this. I'm so sorry. I'm just being very honest here. But yes, but we are very blessed in the South Bay for our pleasant weather for the rest of the year. I also wanted to recognize the good stewardship of the general obligation bonds refunding and our success in receiving grants. I think that that's something that we see these moments, but when we kind of take a step back and look at it as a whole, I think that there's been really good stewardship of our finances, despite different external circumstances that are not necessarily ideal. Also, we had a student board member meeting last week to discuss our goals and potential projects, and it was really wonderful being able to just have my eyes open to a whole new world, speaking to the students about what they see to be things that they want to tackle, or things that they are also seeing and recognizing as being really wonderful and amazing about the work that's being done in our district by students themselves. So that was very inspiring. And we also had our Torrance Labor Management United Network meeting, where we're really working on prioritizing collaborative problem solving, and spoke about communications during an emergency and how we can work together to improve that. And finally, just wanted to, I have tabs open on my computer for the PTA membership and Skechers walk. So hopefully y'all have an opportunity to do that as well. And hopefully I don't leave those tabs so long that I forget. And sometimes that happens. So could I take a motion to adjourn our meeting?
In memory of.
And there's no, yeah, yeah.
To adjourn?
Yeah, so second, all those in favor? Aye.